we rolling? Back with the boy. We're gonna hit push session here at BetterYOU today. I'll run through the session. So pretty much got my 4 main compound movements for push. So I'm gonna do incline press, my flat dumbbell press, shoulder press, and then a tricep dip. So I like to structure my push sessions is the 4 main compound movements I'll hit first, instead of kind of doing like chest, shoulders, tries. Do that sometimes with some individuals, right? But today I'm just gonna run with the 4 compounds, really work on controlled eccentrics, fast concentrics, and then looking to progress wherever I can. So I'm gonna do my 2 chest, shoulder, tricep, and I'm gonna go into my 3 isolation movements for chest, shoulders, and triceps. We're gonna hit it, and I'm keen to get started. Hopefully I can push some good numbers, get some good content for you today, and let's go. So I'm just gonna run through my push mobility work. Just gonna do some planks, gonna just really mobilize the shoulder, gonna do some banded work. This is a beautiful front delt stretch that I go through a lot of my clients with, because a lot of individuals do have a lot of tightness and soreness through that front delt. So next time, before your push session, set up the resistance band quite high, then you're pulling the resistance band down, grabbing it with this arm, and you're just relaxing this arm and letting the resistance pull you up to really stretch out that front delt. If you feel like it's not enough tension, just let go, pull down more, and then grab higher. I like to say, normally with these sort of stretching / mobility drills, you don't want it to cause pain, but you don't want it to be easy doing nothing. You want to find that middle ground. Now, if you're gonna do your external rotations to strengthen that rotator cuff, what I don't wanna see is use a dumbbell, because what we're trying to do is externally rotate with tension pulling back this way. And if you're holding dumbbells, the tension is where you hold it. There's no tension pulling this way. So when you're doing your internal, external rotations, make sure to do it with a band or like a cable. Don't look like a goose, especially not in my gym. Just pretty simple warm up here. Mobilize the shoulders, activated the core. I'm just gonna do 1 set of a pre-activation cable fly. So the goals here is just drive blood to the chest, develop that neurological connection to the chest. Just find the chest. So when I go into my push movements, I'm gonna recruit more chest fibers. Chest was and still is a bit of a weak body part for me. So this was a game changer, because whenever I'd kind of come in to train my chest, I would do my warm ups, but then I'd go straight into some sort of press. And I was just using a lot of front delt, right? So just when I started doing this, I'd do a good 2-3 sets pre-activation flies. The key here is not driving any fatigue. So like 15 to 20 really easy reps with the weight you choose. If you're doing 15, 20 with the rate you choose, you should be able to do like 40. So we're just driving blood. We're not driving any fatigue that's going to take away from the top sets that you're going to do through the session. Drive hard, pause, squeeze, squeeze, feel the chest, control, stretch. So the goal here is just a good squeeze on the chest, develop that mind-muscle connection. First exercise, got the Nautilus high incline chest press. So I've structured this first because this is really gonna overload the short range. As I said at the start, slow eccentrics, hard concentrics, controlling both end ranges. Gonna hit this first. I like to program these machines because they really do overload the short range. If you're using this, if you're using this, any type of chest press machine, it's gonna hit the short range quite aggressively, and you do fatigue quite quick. If I hit my dumbbells first, my load I could lift on this, if I did it second, would be greatly reduced. It's not all about load, but it's all about kind of correct programming and knowing the different muscle lengths, knowing what machine does for that muscle length, and programming it appropriately. 80 grams in carbs in this time. We've upped it from last time. We've upped the dose. Shit's getting serious. All increases, as always. That's it. For all my first 3 movements, first set I'm going for about 6 to 8. Second set I'm going for about 8 to 10. That's the rep range I'm gonna run with our compound movements for today. That first working set, making sure you're prepared for it, because that first working set of the day and for each exercise that you perform is going to be the set you can put your most into it. So making sure you know what you're gonna lift before you even start, get it in your logbook, and making sure you're preparing yourself mentally for this coming set, because this first working set, I know this is where I'm gonna be able to perform at my best. I'm gonna do 2 working sets, but around my second, I'll be fatigued from that first set, especially because it overloads in the short range so much. The weight drop off, if you're taking it to failure, is quite extreme. Oh, wow. One of the best tips I can give you to make the absolute most out of the reps that you perform in the gym is to control the end ranges. If you have the ability to pause in the stretch and control that change of direction, so come down, pause at the stretch, feel the stretch, then drive forward and pause at the top, always do so. By taking the momentum completely out of it, you're gonna facilitate more stimulus to the desired muscle, because always remember, it's not about getting away from A to B, it's about delivering the most tension and stimulus we possibly can to the targeted muscle group. So always control those end ranges. Let's go. As you can see with the dumbbell press, what we're doing is making sure we're finding connection to the 3 points. Upper back connected to the bench, glutes connected to the bench, feet connected to the ground. A lot of individuals, their feet will kick around and they'll lift their glutes up off the bench. Never neglect, even if you're doing upper body movements, how important base stability is. You wanna be bringing yourself back, feet planted hard to the ground, pushing force down the quad, down the calf, and into the ground the whole time. It's about to output your greatest capacity. So like I said, you're driving back, rib cage nicely expanded, upper back on the bench, glutes on the bench, feet on the floor, and then you're driving from there. with warm-up sets, you want to take as many warm-up sets as you need to facilitate you performing your greatest. I've been doing this exercise very frequently for a long time now, so it's only going to take me 2 to 3 warm-up sets before my working set. But if you're not as skillful in a movement, take more. Don't rush into your top sets and seek maximal effort if you're not rehearsing that set beforehand. Use those warm-up sets to 1, like I just said, rehearse that set and get the execution perfect, and prime yourself and your central nervous system for the weight you're about to use. Warm-up sets are key. Don't drive too much fatigue, and take as many as you need to be able to perform at your best. We've got a 45-degree hammer strength shoulder press here. Done our 2 main compound chest movements. Then we're gonna move on to our main compound shoulder movement, tricep movement, and then the isolation work. Like I said at the start, I do this because I'm trying to save as much energy as I can for the main movements, the compound movements. Instead of doing like 3 chest, 2 shoulders, 2 triceps, right now I'm trying to get stronger and progress on those main movements. So it's smart to program them first. I'm gonna do my cable flies, chest, second last. So I'm gonna work on this. 2 warm-up sets here. 1 plate, gonna hit about 15 reps, just get the range of motion, get used to the movement, rehearse it, and then I'm gonna do a feeder set, and then we're gonna get into it. Now, a tip for shoulder pressing, a lot of individuals will start the seat too high. So if you come around to the front, please, Chief, you can see if the seat's too high, how low my elbow is and how it's just a bad position to start in. So if you can drop the seat to a level that you'll start at where you'll come down to. So you can see my elbow's a little bit higher here. You don't want to be starting from all the way down here. Don't put your shoulders in that position. Don't get yourself injured. Don't play yourself. See how I come down to about there and then back up? Ideally, if I was a little bit shorter, this is where I'd start the movement from. Making sure the core's braced. You're not going into that lumbar extended position, making it more of an upper chest movement. We want to target as much delta as we can. Core braced, lower back on the seat, flying away. Two types of people watch this video. Type number 1, they want to watch it, they want to support, they want to learn. Number 2, they're watching it purely to find something wrong, to be negative and to hate it, right? But at the end of the day, thanks for watching. Yes! Ooh. Yeah, that was good. So, 9 reps there. Target was 8. So 2 points there. If you have a target, I said it 6 to 8 was my target on this first set. Point number 1, just because you've hit your target doesn't mean you fucking stop, right? My target was 8, I hit 8, doesn't mean I stop. I go till I got nothing left. Point 2, rep range is 6 to 8, I've just hit 9. So next week, that first working set is gonna be more than what I have here. That's the progression set. I always like to take progressions in a fresh session. So next week I might put a 2.5 on here each side and we'll try and see what we can do. Tricep focus dips here. So really trying to target the tricep through the length and range here. So when we're in this position, pausing, feeling a good stretch on the tricep and exploding through the concentric, controlling the eccentric, pausing, feeling the stretch, drive on through. Moving on to my isolation movements for the day. Chest first, chest focused here. I'm trying to build my chest. So that's why I've done my 2 compound chest movements, first 2 movements. First isolation is gonna be my chest fly. Really just, like I've been saying, pausing in both end ranges, feeling the stretch down here, pausing, driving forward, hewing biceps together, trying to let the upper arm, the humerus cross the sternum, and really squeezing and contracting that chest hard. Moving on to our lateral movement. Behind cuddle, behind cuffed lateral raise, cuddle raise. So what we want to think about here is ideally if you have the cable machine like this, how you can move it in closer. You want to bring it as in as you possibly can to get the alignment in that scapular plane. What you want to think about is kind of thumbs towards the ground and kind of cueing, scraping fists along the ground up the wall, leading with that elbow. What I normally see is people lead with the wrist and kind of slowly rotate like that. Keep it like this, hit that side delt. These are a really good variation, probably my favorite side delt variation. A huge key with that one is always starting from the floor, getting connection from the feet to the floor, skewing sternum over pelvis, rib cage down. Keep that core nice and braced so you have stability into the floor and internal stability through that midsection. So when you go through that lateral raise, you're not kind of leaning back, bringing too much pressure on the lower back, so you can really isolate the side delts, making sure you're nice and braced. Slightly leant forward to initiate that lateral raise. Whenever you go into any exercise, you can either make it as easy as you want or as hard as you want. Now, my goal is to build muscle tissue. So when I go into these machines, I'm not trying to make it easier to lift more load. I'm trying to do the opposite. I'm trying to make it as hard as I possibly can to nail the intended muscle I'm trying to train to drive the most stimulus I can towards the muscle. We're not training a lift, we're training the muscle we're intending to train. So if you wanna make the progress you wanna make, don't just look at making exercise easy to lift more load. Drop the load and make the exercise as hard as you possibly can. Sometimes you need to put yourself in check. I do need to do that sometimes as well. We all do, to be able to progress the way we want it to be. Love doing my tricep isolation movements unilateral. Pretty much all my arm work is going to be unilateral. External stability on the cable machine, slight hinge forward, keep the elbow tucked in towards the hip and lat, and just driving wrist down towards the floor. With low volume training, the thing you need to think about, I heard an analogy recently and it's precise with what we need to think about with low volume training. Low volume training is like a game of darts. So today I only had 4 working sets for shoulders, 2 press, 2 slide lateral. So if we think about, we have 4 darts to throw at the board and we need to get a pretty good score to be able to walk out here with a sufficient stimulus to cause the adaptations for muscle growth. And that's the thing about low volume training. You've only got a few sets to be able to make count. So you're gonna make sure that you're precise, you're accurate, and your intent within the set is there, and make every single single rep count and own that set, because like I just said, 4 sets for shoulders today, so I had 4 opportunities to cause growth. With high volume training, you see individuals doing heaps of volume. Normally you see a breakdown of those factors: accuracy, precision, intense, so they're adding a lot of sets. So if you're training with that low volume set mark, making sure you're making the absolute most of each rep and each set. So that wraps up the push session. This is my push A session for the week. I've got 2 scheduled push sessions, different structure, different workouts. Went through the Nautilus incline, flat dumbbell press, 45-degree shoulder press, and tricep dip. First set, 6 to 8. Second set, we're working about 8 to 10. Then we went to the isolation movements, just hit the cable fly, the cuffed behind lateral raise, and the D handle single arm push down, working in the 12 to 15 rep ranges. So 2 sets of the first 4 compound movements, and then 3 sets of the last 3 movements. I've been running this push, I think, for about pretty much the nuts and bolts of this training program, doing these exercises pretty much all year. Make a few changes here and there to the isolation. I'm just working on progressing those main ones, keeping the execution on point, and always look to progress load and also how I perform those movements each and every week, because it's not just about getting more weight, it's about also getting better at the movement that you're executing. Thanks for coming. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. I'll see you next time.